Post one and I like quiet. Grocery lists with boxes to tick. A skillet that heats evenly. Shoes by the door facing the same way so mornings do not start with a scavenger hunt. My girlfriend Lena teases me that I am an old man at 31. I say I'm a content man. We have been together 4 years, living together for 2. We are renters in a duplex on a block with maples and a lot of dogs. I keep the downstairs tidy and pay bills on time. I handle oil changes before a light comes on. I am not flashy, I am steady. I am also working toward a certification at work that bumps me to project lead by year end. My boss says if I pass in the fall, I will get the title and the raise. I am not rich. I have a plan that looks like one. In May, a new neighbor moved into the other half of our duplex. He is 24 and looks like a commercial for hair. He introduced himself as RY. He fixes and flips houses, does short-term rentals, and has a YouTube channel where he says words like leverage into a camera. He throws casual block hangouts where the lighting seems unplanned but is obviously not. He is the kind of person who calls things a vibe. He wears a crossbody bag like it contains secrets. I did not think about him much. He is a fine neighbor. He takes his trash out on the right day. He returns misdelivered mail. He also stands on his porch at sunset and pours wine like a person in a commercial. Lena started joining him for porch chats after her evening run. It made sense at first. We all shared a stoop and a view. I joined twice and listened to Rye talk about how 9 to 5 is a mind prison. I said nothing because my job pays our rent and will pay more when I pass the certification. He said I should take his course on velocity banking. I said I prefer interest rates that are not a dare. He laughed the way people laugh when they think you have missed a joke, but they have missed a mortgage. The porch chats stretched. A glass at 7 turned into stories at 8. Then Lena texted that she was still out at 9, still talking. She came home lit up. She said Rye made her feel seen. He told her she had potential in her career that her office could not hold. He said she was magnetic. He said she was living someone else's idea of small. I am not jealous by default. I am careful with jealousy because it feels like a poorly trained dog that drags you into traffic if you let go of the leash. I told myself this was neighborly. I told myself she would get bored when his advice looped. Then last week she said we needed to talk about a spark. She said it gently, like the word was fragile. We were folding laundry. She said the porch talks woke something up. She feels attraction to Rye and wants to explore what that means. She says love is not a cage. She asked me to hold space for her to find herself. She said if I really loved her, I would not be threatened by curiosity. I felt my face heat in a way I did not recognize. I folded a towel that did not need folding. I asked if anything physical had happened. She said no. Then she added that there had been a late-night hug that lingered. I stood there holding a towel like it could explain anything. I asked if she was asking for an open relationship. She said she hates labels, but wants to be honest about desire. She said the porch feels like a mirror, and she needs to look. I could hear my pulse in my ears. I said I would not consent to opening our relationship. I said I am willing to do couples counseling. I said I will discuss intimacy, boredom, resentment, routines that need shaking. I said I will not discuss a neighbor as a partner. I said this calmly because I have rehearsed it in my head since we moved in. Not because of RY, because of life. Because there are always going to be porches and sunsets and people who say the right words with perfect teeth. I told her if she feels compelled to test this spark, that is a separation, not a chapter we co-author. I asked her to stop the porch nights and keep things neighbor polite only. She said I am making fear into a rule. She said I like being adored for being solid, and I am threatened by someone who speaks a language I do not. She said a hug is not a contract. She said I am acting like a landlord of her heart, obsessed with terms and dates. That last sentence stung. I manage due dates because bills punish people who pretend dates do not matter. I do not manage her. I love her. I cooked soup when she had the flu and changed our flight when her work trip got extended. I have made a life where she should not have to count how many eggs are left before she eats breakfast. I wrote my boundary down that night so I would not wobble when the room tilted. The next day I sent her a short email, so there would be no confusion. I love you. I want us. I will do counseling. I will not open this relationship. Any romantic or sexual contact with Rye breaks us. I need you to stop the porch evenings. Please confirm. She wrote back that she needed time to think and that she was disappointed in how I framed love as a checklist. Since then, she has been quieter. She still runs at sunset. Rye still pours wine. I sit with my workbook for the certification and highlight sentences that do not care about any of this. I do not sleep well. I imagine being a different kind of man, a man with looser hands and a cooler laugh. Then I remember that I like being the man who knows where the spare batteries live. I like being the man who walks the trash out on the right day. My mother says neighbors will be neighbors and that this will pass. My best friend says the porch is not the problem, the boundary is. I think my best friend is right. I think if you can name your line and then it gets treated like a lack of imagination, that is the whole story. Am I the jerk for telling my girlfriend to end the porch nights with our neighbor and for refusing to open our relationship even though she says she needs to explore a spark to know herself? Comment 1. Not the jerk. You offered counseling and named a clear boundary. A porch crush with a neighbor is not a harmless experiment when you live wall to wall. Put it in writing, keep your plan for the certification, and do not negotiate against yourself. Comment 2. Not the jerk. Stop shared hangouts with Rye, no private messages, no one-on-one porch time. If she proceeds, it is cheating. Start quiet prep, separate spending account, copies of lease and bills, and a short list of therapists. Update 1. I thought the next few days would be quiet. I thought we would both sit with big feelings and then find a couples therapist. What happened was the porch turned into a stage. Rye posted a sunset story with 2 glasses on the railing and the caption, "Choose your life daily." The camera panned and caught the edge of Lena's ponytail. I would know the bend of it anywhere. My phone made the tiny buzz of a notification, and my chest did the bigger version. I watched the story twice and then put the phone face down on the table because my hands needed to touch something that did not glow. That night, Lena came home with the same electric hum I have come to recognize. She said the talk was good and that Rye sees patterns in her career that I cannot because I am too close. I said I would be happy to be farther if it helped, as long as farther was not on a porch at sunset with a man who has already told me 9 to 5 is a mind prison. She said I was being small. I said I had already sent my boundary in writing. She said she got it and needed time. Her group chat did not need time. A friend texted me to check in and then sent me a long paragraph about how 4 years is a long time to be with one person in your 30s and how curiosity can either be honored or it rots. I read it twice to make sure I was not missing a joke. I replied with a short line, "We are not opening our relationship. We are finding a couples therapist." He hearted the message in a way that felt like a vote and not a heart. My mother called to say that sometimes women need to be chased back. I said I am not a dog and neither is Lena. She said I should plan a special night to remind Lena of what we have. I said I am not going to perform for a porch. There was a long pause, then she asked if I could at least be kinder. I said I am trying to be kind by telling the truth. Nor came over with groceries and the kind of face that means she will not pretend. We cooked and ate and then built a list at the table, her pen scratching like an engine idling. Find couples therapist with sliding scale slots. Write one more email to Lena to confirm the line in the offer. Send a short note to Rye requesting neighbor boundaries. Screenshot the story and archive it without spiraling. Keep the certification study plan moving because having something you can control matters. She added 3 names to a section called Allies. Aunt Lila, our quiet upstairs neighbor who notices everything, and a coworker who has lunch with Lena and sends me the occasional postcard of reality. I wrote the second email to Lena that night. It was not a new speech. It was the same 3 paragraphs with 1 extra line. The porch nights need to stop now because they are hurting us. I am booking a couples therapist. If you want out, say out. If you want us, choose us. She replied an hour later with a single sentence. I hear you and I need more time to feel what is true. The sentence looked like a cloud that refused to rain. I walked next door and knocked. Rye opened the door with a smile that has closed many arguments. I kept my voice calm. I said I was asking him to honor a boundary. No more one-on-one porch nights with Lena. No more late texts. No more coaching combinations that look like date nights. He lifted his palms and said he is a friend and a neighbor, and that he would never disrespect my relationship. I said filming a glass clink at sunset while my girlfriend's hair is in frame is not neighborly. He said that was unintentional and that art happens. I said to keep his art out of my life. He nodded and said he got me. He did not look like a man who gets anyone but the reflection in his phone. The next day, Rai posted a reel about haters who are addicted to control and how they kill magnetism. Lena liked it. My stomach did the drop it does on a steep hill. I did not comment. I finished a worksheet for my certification instead. Highlighting a paragraph about critical path method felt like drinking water after too much salt. The landlord texted a friendly reminder that we have a shared noise policy and asked everyone to keep porch hangouts quiet. I thanked him with ridiculous gratitude I did not expect to feel. A rule is a small raft when the water's cold. I put a copy of the lease in a folder on my desktop called Housekeeping Next Steps, not because I am planning to leave, but because I would like a copy of everything that can help me move cleanly if I have to. Lena's coworker Mari pulled me aside in the parking lot to say she thinks Rai is trouble. She said he pitched her a short-term rental scheme that made her feel like a mark. She said Lena is floating and that floaters bump into rocks. I thanked her and told her I was not interested in recruiting allies for a fight. I want a counselor, not a club. She nodded and pressed a business card for a therapist into my hand like a secret. That night, Lena did not go to the porch. She ran, showered, ate 2 bowls of pasta, and sat on the floor to stretch. I sat with her and asked if she would come to therapy with me. She said she would think about it. Then she said she felt caged by the way I wrote emails like contracts. I said the emails are so I do not shout. She said she does not want to be taught lessons. I said I do not want to be taught about magnetism by a man who lives 6 feet from our couch. I slept on my side of the bed like a person who is trying to respect lines even in sleep. At 3 in the morning, I woke up with my heart racing and stood in the kitchen drinking water in the dark. The porch looked innocent through the window. It is wood and nails and a railing and a view. It is not a destiny. I repeated that sentence until my pulse slowed. Today I booked the therapist from the card Mari gave me. Tuesday at 6. I sent Lena the appointment time and said I would go whether she came or not. I wrote one more short message to Rai that included dates and the request that he remove the story that includes my partner. He read it. He did not reply. He did take the story down an hour later. I do not know if it was for me or for his grid. I know some people think I am overreacting to a porch and a feeling. I know other people will say feelings grow where they are fed, and a neighbor is not a harmless place to pour water. I am not asking strangers to pick a team. I am asking if a basic line is still a line when the person you love calls it fear. Am I the jerk for asking my girlfriend to stop the porch nights, messaging our neighbor to back off, and booking a couples therapist even though she says she needs time to feel what is true? Comment 1, not the jerk. You set a clear boundary, put it in writing, and took reasonable steps with the neighbor and a therapist. Keep copies of the posts, keep your appointment, and do not let anyone shame you for speaking plain. Comment 2, not the jerk. Porch nights are not neutral when a spark is admitted. You offered counseling and refused to open the relationship. Stay steady. Your plan and your spine can both exist. Update 2. I thought the worst part would be the porch. It turns out the worst part is watching people turn your life into a pole. Sunday afternoon, Rai hosted what he called a low-key sip and share. It was 6 neighbors and 3 of Lena's friends. I stayed inside because I did not trust my face. From our window, I could hear the cadence of his voice and the small laugh Lena uses when she wants to keep things light. An hour later, my phone pinged. A neighbor accidentally added me to a group thread recapping the hangout. Someone wrote, "Real talk, if there is a spark, you owe yourself curiosity." Another added a heart under, "Life is short and porches are magic." It was not meant for me, but it was meant for me. I watched the thread long enough to feel my chest tighten. Then I put the phone down and opened my certification workbook because numbers will never ask you to be bigger than a boundary. That night, Lena told me she was late. She said it softly, like a confession she wanted to be received as intimacy. She showed me a photo of 2 pink lines. My ribs felt like a belt cinched 1 notch tighter. She said the timing almost certainly made it mine, and that this could be our reset. She said the porch made her feel alive. but I make her feel safe, and a baby needs safe. She looked at me like she was offering a path back to normal. I heard my own voice come from far away, calm because I had written the sentence in my notebook for this exact moment. If the child is mine, I will be responsible as a father. We are not opening our relationship. I will not sign anything or pay prenatal costs until we confirm paternity at the earliest safe window. She blinked like I had recited a statute instead of a promise. She said requesting a test was cruel. I said facts are how people stop destroying themselves with stories. She cried and said I was turning love into logistics. I wanted to say logistics kept our lights on, and our car from stranding us, and our meals from becoming arguments. I did not say it. I texted Noor and asked if she could come over. Noor arrived with ginger ale and a folder like she was walking into a school meeting. She sat with us at the table and said testing early protects everyone. She listed labs, earliest weeks, insurance, out-of-pocket estimates. She made the practical small again, which is the kindest thing anyone has done for me in months. Lena said she would think about it. I emailed her the lab info before I went to bed because thinking works better with dates and addresses. The pile-on grew teeth. Rai posted a reel about men who weaponize paperwork to control magnetic women. He did not tag us. He did not need to. Lena liked it. Two of her friends sent me long texts about bravery. One wrote, "A real man raises the child of the woman he loves." Another wrote, "Picking a test over trust is small." I replied exactly once, using the sentence I copied onto an index card so I would not improvise under pressure. If the child is mine, I will be present and responsible. We are not opening the relationship. I will not sign anything until paternity is confirmed. Please do not contact me about this again. I filed their messages in a folder labeled Receipts, which feels petty and also like armor. The next morning, our upstairs neighbor, Mrs. Patel, knocked softly and handed me a plate of lemon bars like we were in a sitcom about kindness. She said she had seen late-night porch traffic and was worried for us. She told me quietly that Rai filmed a live at 1 a.m. on Friday and that the reflection in the window showed two people inside our half of the duplex. She did not say names. She did not need to. She said, "I am not taking sides, Beta. I am giving you the times." Then she patted my hand the way teachers do when they want you to remember you are capable of math. I took screenshots of everything and called a family lawyer for a consult because I do not want to learn the system while drowning. He told me to keep communication in writing, to open a separate checking account for my paycheck, to photograph shared assets, and to write a short hospital plan now in case anyone tries to put my name on anything by momentum. He said if Lena consents to early testing, get the appointment on the calendar today. If she stalls, document the stall and prepare to test at birth. He said the sentence I am trying to learn to live by. Compassion with boundaries is not cruelty. I moved my direct deposit to a new account, opened a P.O. box, and made a list called Housekeeping Next Steps. Copies of the lease, utilities, car title, a go bag in the trunk with 3 days of clothes. I booked a therapist for myself because you can be ethical and still need someone to teach your nervous system how to stand up without shaking. I texted Lena to say I had scheduled a non-invasive prenatal paternity test for the earliest safe week and that I would cover the cost. She replied that she needed to discuss it with Rai because he was part of her process now. My stomach did the steep hill drop again. I wrote back one line. Discuss what you want. The appointment is booked. That evening, the porch was full again. Rai poured wine, Lena laughed too brightly, and I sat at our table highlighting a paragraph about float and slack because the words do not care about how my house sounds. At 9:12 p.m., our doorbell camera recorded Rai carrying a box to Lena with the caption on the tied card visible in the porch light. For our legacy. The word legacy did something unkind to my throat. I saved the clip and sent it to my lawyer with the subject, Timeline Edition. A cousin added me to a family thread to say my mother was telling people I would do right by a baby because that is who I am. I love my mother. I also do not want her reputation for my steadiness used as leverage against logic. I called her and said I would be responsible if the child is mine and that she should stop writing scripts with my name in them. She cried and said she is scared of holidays without Lena. I said I am scared of a life where my boundaries are a party game. 2 days later, Lena texted that she would attend the test. She wrote, "I hate that it has come to this, but I do not want to fight. I said thank you and sent her the appointment time again. She added, I still think a real partner would say yes regardless. I typed and deleted 5 versions of her reply. I settled on this. A real partner tells the truth out loud and then lives it. I am not naive. I know this could end with results that bind me to a woman who rebranded cheating as curiosity and a neighbor who sells sunsets like vitamins. If it does, I will be present and responsible for the child and absent from a relationship that treats my spine like a coat rack. If it does not, I will grieve what I thought we were and start living the version of my life where I can hear myself think. No question today, just a record. I asked for a test. I set a plan. I put the porch back outside. Comment 1. You handled this perfectly. Early NIP scheduled, all communication in writing, no financial commitments before results. Keep the landlord and hospital plans separate and tight. You can be kind and still say no. Comment 2. You are not cruel. Legacy boxes and reels are theater. Keep your receipts, keep your appointment, and keep your paycheck in that separate account. Update 3. Thank you to everyone who told me to keep things in writing and to move, not argue. The non-invasive paternity test happened yesterday. A lab tech drew blood from Lena, swabbed my cheek, sealed the kits with barcodes, and handed us a receipt with a chain of custody number that looks like a train car. It felt clinical in the best way. No candles, no speeches, just labels and a FedEx pickup. Results will come when they come. I am keeping my days full so I do not spend them refreshing. The porch did not cool down. Rye posted a reel titled Legacy Season with a photo of a tiny white box tied with twine. The same box Mrs. Patel saw him hand to Lena on our doorstep. The caption said, "Claim your story." Comments were full of hearts and rocket emojis. Lena liked it and added 3 stars. I screenshotted, filed, and went back to my certification workbook. Highlighting steps for resource leveling is my version of breathing into a paper bag. Then my mother and Lena's friend group invited me to what they called a unity dinner at my mom's house. They framed it as a chance to reset energy before the results. I brought Nora as my witness because I am done walking into rooms where people hold scripts I did not write. We arrived to a long table, fairy lights and place cards. Mine was between my mother and a seat with a folded hoodie that turned out to be Rye's. He walked in 10 minutes late, hugged my mom, and said something about community that made her smile like a curtain opening. The first 30 minutes were small talk that felt like a runway. Then Lena stood up with a paper in her hand. She said she had prepared a few words. She thanked everyone for support during a confusing time. She said love changes shape and that she believes a family is what people build with courage. She said no matter whose DNA is involved, she wants the baby to have a steady father figure. She turned to me and said, I am steady and kind, and that is more important than biology. She asked me in front of everyone to promise I would raise this baby regardless of the test because love is chosen. I stood up because sitting makes my voice flatten. I have been writing 1 paragraph for weeks in a notebook so I could read it without shaking if I had to. I read it. I love children. If this child is mine, I will be present and responsible. We are not opening our relationship. I will not sign any paperwork or accept any legal or financial responsibility until paternity is confirmed. I will not be pressured by friends, family, or neighbors into pretending consent can be voted on. I finished and sat down. Noor squeezed my shoulder under the table like a metronome tapping time. Rye said a lot of words about community and how real men claim what the moment asks of them. He looked at me the way a person looks at a camera, like the audience matters more than the scene partner. My mother cried and said holidays are fragile and could I please think of the big picture. Lena's friend Mari, the one who gave me the therapist card, cleared her throat and said the big picture includes truth. The room split along that sentence. Half the faces looked deflated, half looked angry. I felt calm in the way a person feels when they finally say the thing they practiced in a mirror. After dessert, my mother took me aside to say that when she married my stepfather, she made peace with complexities. I said marriage is not a porch and a stream of reels. She said I was being unkind. I said I was being clear. She said I was pushing people away. I said people were pushing past a boundary and calling it love. She sighed and asked me to walk her back to the kitchen. I did because she is my mother, and because kindness does not require surrender. Back at our duplex, I sent a single follow-up email to the whole dinner group. Thank you for inviting me. For clarity, here is what I read aloud tonight. I pasted the paragraph and hit send. I do not know if it will change minds. I do know it makes it harder for someone to remember a different version of my words later. This morning, an envelope from our landlord was taped to our door, addressed to both tenants. A simple reminder about porch quiet hours, guest limits, and filming on shared property. It was not about us by name. It was about the fact that neighbors have been complaining. I took a photo and put it in the binder with the lease. If this ends with me leaving, I want my part of the record to look like a person who respected rules even when feelings did not. Lena oscillates between soft and steel. She curled into my side last night and said she hates that we are in a test. I said the test is not a punishment. It is a fact. She said she wishes I had enough faith to choose us no matter what. I said I do choose us if us means on honesty and boundaries. I do not choose a story where I volunteer to be a prop. She cried and said I have turned into someone who talks like a lawyer. I said I talk like a person who has learned that clear language is oxygen when a room fills with smoke. Noor thinks the Unity dinner was meant to pin me under a spotlight and that reading my paragraph out loud deflated the scene. Mrs. Patel left a small jasmine plant on our step with a note that said, "Roots need boundaries." I laughed for the first time in days. I put the plant on the kitchen windowsill and watered it with a measuring cup because I like numbers that fit in cups. I do not know the result yet. I do know my plan. I keep working toward my certification. I keep my paycheck routed to the separate account. I keep all communication by email. I keep the hospital plan ready. I keep my voice even. I keep my hands off the porch railing because wood remembers fingers, and I want to leave clean fingerprints on the parts of my life that are mine. Am I the jerk for reading a prepared statement at a Unity dinner, refusing to promise to raise a baby regardless of paternity, and emailing the group afterwards so no one can pretend they did not hear me? Comment 1. Not the jerk. You read one calm paragraph, kept it factual, and refused a public ambush. Early test done. Chain of custody documented. Finances protected. Keep all contact in writing. You did exactly what people with a spine do. Comment 2. Not the jerk. Love is chosen does not mean erase paternity. Your mother's holiday fear is not your legal obligation. Hold your line. When results come, act accordingly, not theatrically. Update 4. The results are not in yet. I keep reminding myself that when numbers are traveling in labeled tubes, refreshing a browser does not speed them up. While we wait, Rye decided to stage a moment. Yesterday evening, a flyer appeared in our building group chat. Porch popped by. Balloons, mocktails, a tiny surprise for community. I knew what it was before Lena walked in with a pink and blue cupcake box. She looked at me with a careful smile and said it would be small. I asked if she had confirmed with the landlord about guests. She said I was making everything technical. I said the lease is the one document on this block that does not change its mind. At 7, half the street clustered around Rye's steps. Fairy lights, a ring light, a camera on a tripod. He loves the kind of casual that takes 8 chords. I stayed on our side of the shared porch with Noor at my shoulder. I am done walking into scenes without a witness. Mrs. Patel watched from her window with a cat shaped like a cushion on the sill. My mother arrived with a casserole and the look of a woman determined to save a holiday. Someone from Lena's office waved. Phones pointed at the lights like flowers leaned towards sun. Rye opened with a speech about community and courage. He said families are not just blood. He said legacy is built when men step up. He gestured at me with his whole palm. Not a point, the way hosts present a prize. Lena's friend handed her a small cannon. I could see the label through the clear shrink wrap. Confetti popper. She looked at me with that careful smile again. I shook my head. She hesitated, then pulled. Pink confetti fanned across our steps and drifted onto the hydrangeas that the landlord waters at 6 a.m. every Saturday. There was clapping, and the ring light made a halo on Rye's face. Lena turned to me and did the plan part. She said she wanted everyone to hear that we are choosing love over biology. She asked me to say I would be this baby's father no matter what. She added that this is what a steady man does. She used my own word like a test I had to pass in public. I took out the index card I have been carrying because my body shakes less when my eyes have a line to follow. I read it the way I practiced. If the child is mine, I will be present and responsible as a father. We are not opening our relationship. I will not sign any paperwork or accept legal or financial responsibility until paternity is confirmed. Please stop staging public requests that try to convert consent into a cheer. My voice did not wobble. Noor's hand on my elbow felt like a metronome. Someone in the crowd booed. Rai spread his arms like a pastor and said a real man does not need paperwork to love. I said a real adult knows the difference between a promise and a trap. He stepped one stair down until we were closer than neighbors usually stand. Phones angled toward the small space between us. He said, if I will not step up, community will. He looked at the lenses when he said it, not at me. The landlord threaded through the group with a clipboard in the face of a man thinking about liability. He told Rai to turn the speaker down, to move the tripod off shared steps, and to stop blocking the walkway. Someone muttered about small minds. The landlord pointed at the flyer my mother had shared and said the lease prohibits events on the shared porch without permission. He looked at me and asked if this gathering had my consent. I said no. He nodded and wrote something on his form like he was taking attendance in a class where the room itself is the teacher. Then came the part I did not script. A neighbor I do not know well, the kind who only waves over recycling bins, called the non-emergency line about the noise and the tripods crowding the stairs. 10 minutes later, a patrol car rolled by slow, lights off. The officer stepped out and asked who lived at each unit. The officer was calm and a little bored, which was the best possible energy to bring to a porch with pink paper on the hydrangeas. The landlord spoke first. He said it was a noise and obstruction complaint and that he had already asked for the tripod to move. The officer asked if we could wrap it up and keep the stairs clear. Rai started to explain legacy. The officer repeated the part about the stairs like a line he knew by heart. Lena looked at me with her careful smile cracked. The moment had been shaped for applause, not for a clipboard and a badge telling people to keep exits clear. She said quietly, "This is humiliating." I said quietly, "I asked you not to make our lives into theater." She said I could have chosen to be bigger. I said I chose clarity. My mother stood with her casserole and cried. She said I was breaking her heart over paperwork. Noor asked my mother if her heart would be less broken in 5 years when a judge asked me to explain why I signed things I knew were untrue. My mother closed the casserole dish and said she was going home. Rai killed the ring light. People drifted. Pink paper stuck to shoes in the first step. The officer drove away. The landlord handed me a printed copy of the lease clauses highlighted and asked me to keep a copy. I put it in the binder. He is not on my side. He is on the side of the building. I respect that. Inside, Lena asked if I enjoyed myself. I said I did not enjoy any of this. I said I will be present if I am the father. I said I will not be pressured into a statement that ignores a lab envelope traveling in the mail. She said she cannot believe I called the police. I said I did not. The landlord and a neighbor did. She said it is the same. I said it is not. I emailed my attorney a short recap and attached a photo of the pink confetti on the shared steps with a timestamp. I asked for a template letter declining any pre-birth paperwork and a hospital plan that lists me as non-contact unless paternity confirms. He sent both within an hour with 2 extra lines. Do not attend any further Unity events. Direct all requests to counsel. I printed the letter, signed it, and scanned it back, then put a copy in the binder with the lease and the porch notice. I am not a man who likes conflict. I am a man who likes clear lanes. Tonight, the block learned that a confetti cannon is not a lane. A lab envelope is. When the result arrives, I will act. Until then, I will keep my head down, my email short, and my shoes pointed the right way at the door. Am I the jerk for reading my legal line at a public reveal, refusing to promise fatherhood before results, and allowing the landlord and a neighbor to end the gathering when it violated the lease? Comment 1, not the jerk. You stated a calm, factual boundary, refused pre-birth paperwork, and documented a public pressure attempt. Keep counsel in front, notify L and D of non-contact unless paternity confirms, and stop attending staged events. Comment 2, contrarian. You should have said yes on principle. Real men raise the baby in front of them. Tests are fear. Community matters more than biology. OP replied to comment 2, I will be present and responsible if I am the father. Refusing to sign legal fictions is not fear. It is honesty. I am letting the lab and the law do the talking now. Update 5. Two things arrived today that felt like weather breaking. First, an email from the lab saying results are processing and will be released within 48 hours. Second, an envelope from my attorney containing the hospital plan I asked for, and a formal letter declining any pre-birth paperwork or acknowledgments of paternity. I scanned both into the binder that has become the spine of my life. I did not refresh the lab portal. I folded laundry. I walked trash to the curb on the correct night. I made a pot of rice and sat with the quiet that follows decisions. The chorus around us has softened. It did not happen all at once. It happened in a click of small switches. Mari, the coworker who pressed me a therapist card weeks ago, forwarded screenshots from a private work chat where Lena complained that I was obsessed with tests, while also admitting the timeline was a little messy. Another coworker asked if Rye would cover anything. Lena replied with a joke about community. Human resources does not police hearts, but they do care about staff conflicts that spill into office channels. The HR manager called Lena in for a reminder to keep personal matters off internal threads. I did not gloat. I added the screenshots to the binder and underlined the part where Lena wrote that she was not sure about paternity. Mrs. Patel, our upstairs neighbor, printed 3 still images from the building cam that faces the shared steps. One shows the ring light and tripod on the stairs at the reveal, blocking the exit. One shows Rye handing Lena the small white box with the word legacy visible in the reflection on the glass. One shows the officer gesturing to clear the stairs. Mrs. Patel clipped the images to an index card with times written in careful pen. She slid the bundle under our door with a note. No sides, just dates. I thanked her with a lemon bar from a bakery she likes because people who keep records deserve sweet things that do not require speeches. My mother sent a short email that said she does not support public pressure scenes and that she is stepping back to let me handle the legal parts. She did not apologize for the unity dinner or the porch reveal. She did not need to. The sentence that said she was stepping back from orchestrating feelings is the one I needed. I printed it and put it in the binder. I am building a house of paper that can stand in bad weather. I signed a lease for a 1-bedroom on the 2nd floor of a building 6 blocks away. It has a small balcony and a kitchen that fits a 2-person table and exactly 3 plants. The manager slid keys across the desk and said the words I keep hearing from strangers lately. I hope it is a good place to rest. I transferred utilities and set my move date for the Saturday after next. Nor promised a hand truck and 2 strong friends. I bought a label maker that makes me embarrassingly happy. There is a calm that comes from writing bedroom on a box and knowing it will go to a room that only needs 1 body. The landlord used the porch reveal as a jumping-off point to send a formal notice to all tenants about shared space etiquette. No filming that obstructs steps. No amplified sound after 9. No events without permission. He also sent Rye a separate letter stating that tenant consent is required for any shared porch use that creates a crowd. Rye responded with a joke about community and courage. The landlord responded with a line about safety and insurance. I started to like the landlord, not as a person, as a function. Lena oscillates between wanting to start over and wanting me to speak a sentence that would erase the lab envelope in transit. She showed me a crib on a website and asked if we could pick colors together. I said we could pick colors after paternity is confirmed. She said she never thought love would feel so legal. I said love felt very legal at the unity dinner when a promise was requested as if it were a speech cue. She stopped talking. She opened the fridge. She closed it. She said quietly that she is scared to be alone if the result goes a certain way. I said quietly that I am scared to become a man who ignores facts to avoid awkward rooms. Fear can point both directions. Only one of those fears builds a stable house. Nor collected receipts of her own. She asked a friend who follows Rye's private community to share clips from a live stream where he described the reveal as content. He used that word, content. He called me a lesson in scarcity mindset. He said the porch is where stories learn to be brave. I did not feel rage reading it. I felt relief. The words confirm what the ring light already told me. The porch was a stage. I added the clip to the binder and moved on to packing the box labeled dishes. The certification exam draws closer. I am keeping my study schedule like it is a rope. My manager put my name on a project that stretches into winter with a note that says pending exam. I like the words that live in that sentence. Pending implies a future that can be made by studying enough nights in a row. It is more generous than legacy and more honest than vibe. I sent a final heads-up email to the labor and delivery social worker at the hospital where Lena plans to deliver. It says I will be present only if paternity confirms and that my name should not be placed on any document until that moment. The social worker thanked me for the courtesy and said they would add a note to the chart. She did not ask for a speech. She asked for a date of birth. I answered a question where the format is known. I breathed easier. Lena's friend who once texted that a real man raises any baby in front of him wrote me a short message. It said, I was unfair. Boundaries are not cruelty. I archived it without reply. The apology is not my fuel. The results are. Tonight I walked past the porch and looked straight ahead. Rye was on the steps with two people practicing the language of empire and grit. I did not stop. I did not glance at any glasses. I unlocked our door and went inside and labeled two boxes. Bedding, outlet adapters, the label maker word and the little sticky ribbon clicked free with a sound that feels like order. I still love Lena. That is not a confession. It is a fact that has to sit next to other facts. One of those facts is that a neighbor who sells sunsets should not be able to draft the shape of our future. Another is that a child deserves a father who knows whether he is a father. Another is that a man is allowed to walk to a smaller kitchen and a balcony and call that walk a choice. I will post the final update when the results land and the move is done. For now, I am going to pack spices, text Nor the move date, and study one more chapter because a passing score is a promise I can actually keep. Comment 1, clean work, HR nudge, landlord notice, hospital plan, new lease, and receipts archived. You are not being cold, you are being adult. Keep the binder up to date and keep your study plan. 48 hours will pass whether you refresh or not. Comment 2, this is what boundaries with compassion look like. Apologies are background noise. Results and logistics are signal. Pack, rest, and stay off the porch. Final update, 11 months later. The results arrived the morning after I signed the lease. The email subject line was plain, report available. I sat on the floor between two boxes labeled dishes and cables because chairs were already at the new place. I logged in and read the sentence that unknotted my shoulders. Probability of paternity excluded. I did not shout. I did not text the thread. I set my phone down and let my hands rest on cardboard until they learned the shape of stillness again. I emailed the result to my attorney, the hospital social worker, and my manager who needed to know whether my November schedule might be rearranged. My attorney filed a short letter declining any pre-birth acknowledgments and confirming I would not be a party to paperwork without a match. The social worker thanked me and added a chart note. My manager wrote one sentence. Focus on your exam. It was the kindest line I got all month. The delivery happened in late fall. I was not listed as a contact and did not attend. The hospital honored the plan. I learned the date from my mother, who learned it from a mutual cousin who learned it from a public post with a pastel filter and a caption about miracles. There was no tag for me. There was a ring light in one photo that reflected in a hallway window. I turned my phone face down and stood on my new balcony and watched leaves fall like slow confetti that belongs to no one. 2 weeks later, a court order compelled testing for the actual father. The result named a YRY. He posted a video that tried to reframe it as a story about community stepping up. The comments were less kind than his earlier reels. Sponsors paused partnerships. The landlord served a notice about guest limits after stairs were blocked again by a stroller and a tripod. By winter, Rye listed his unit for sublet and moved in with his father. He still posts, but the light looks different. You can tell when someone films in a room they do not control. Lena reached out twice. The first email said she wanted to talk about forgiveness and the possibility of building an unconventional family. I replied with one paragraph. I wish you and your child health. I will not be in contact socially. I will not be a co-parent. Please direct any legal matters to counsel. She wrote back that she never thought I would be so cold. I sat with that sentence and decided not to fix it. The second time, she asked for a letter to her HR manager, stating that our situation was resolved so she could quiet office gossip. My attorney sent a sentence that said the matter of paternity was closed and that I had no role in her household. It was sterile and complete, and it kept me out of the room. My mother and I are careful with each other now. She apologized in writing for the Unity dinner and the porch reveal, and for letting fear of empty holidays steer her into public pressure. The apology was not grand. It was simple, and it used my word. Boundary. We have dinner every other Sunday. We do not talk about porches. We talk about recipes and her garden and the new kettle I bought that clicks off at the right temperature. She has stopped asking me to be bigger. She asks if I am sleeping. I am. Mrs. Patel still lives upstairs in my old building. We wave when I pass on my way to the bus. She once pressed a small envelope into my hand with a printed photo of Jasmine from her windowsill. The note said, "Roots and boundaries." I keep it in a drawer with my exam certificate because both represent a kind of growth that does not require an audience. I passed the certification in January. The email from the board was as plain as the lab report. I printed it anyway and stuck it on the fridge with a magnet shaped like a maple leaf. My manager changed my title, and the raise landed in my account 2 pay periods later. I bought a second plant and a pair of shoes that make standing all day feel like sitting. The balcony holds 2 chairs now. Some evenings, a friend sits in the other one. Noor stops by with a book and tells me not to evangelize the label maker. I try and fail to stop. Dating is gentle. Coffee twice with someone kind who also likes lists. We walked the long way around the park and did not talk about love as a stage. We talked about parking rules and how some leases are clear and some are folklore. I told her early that I do not do open relationships. I told her I have a boring binder for every important thing. She said boring can be beautiful if it keeps the floor from tilting. We have not made plans for a future. We have made a plan to bring our own mugs next time because the Trail Cafe never has enough. I still have the binder. It sits on a shelf that does not need to carry anyone else's weight. Inside are copies of the lease, the hospital plan, the attorney letters, screenshots, and the result that closed the door. I open it less and less. Not because I forget, because I do not need proof in the same way when I am not living inside someone else's script. People ask what I learned. I learned that love is not an agreement to ignore facts. I learned that consent is not a vote you can win by inviting more people. I learned that a man can be steady without being a doormat. That boundaries can be sentences you write on index cards and read aloud when your hands shake. That a porch is wood and nails and not a destiny. I learned that I like quiet kitchens and plants that ask only for water and windows that face maple leaves. I learned that becoming a person I can respect sometimes looks like packing boxes and walking 6 blocks. I carried heavy things for a long time. Some of them belonged to me. Some did not. I put down what did not. I kept what does. I am not triumphant. I am clear. The kettle clicks off at the right temperature. The labels on my boxes match what is inside. The door closes and stays closed if I ask it to. That is enough.